Hey everyone, so we are back and this time we are going to build our form. As I said in the last one, that we are going to build our profile form as well as the update password form. Okay, so let me just go back to our code base, and here you can see in the last video we created this content tabs. Okay, and right now we need to actually replace this text with the actual form element. Okay, so what we are going to do now, inside our section folder, you see we have auth and chat for now. Okay, but now I'm going to add another folder for the profile section. So let's create a new folder. I'm going to call it profile. Okay, now inside profile I need two forms. The first form is the profile form itself, and the second one is update password form. So let's create a new file. I'm going to call it update password form. Okay, now we are going to create these two separately, but first of all let me create the boilerplate code. So I'm going to write the React functional component. Okay, so this is our profile form. Next up, I'm going to create the update password form. Similar. Okay, similarly we created a React functional component here as well. Now the next step is to export these two components. So I'm going to create an index.js file so that I can create a named export for these two files. Okay, here I'm just going to write export default. Inside curly bracket I'm going to write default as, and then the name for this form that I want to, with the name I want to export, I'm going to write that over here. So profile form, as profile form, let me correct the spelling, as profile form from, and then the path to the file. Similarly we can write the another export statement over here, export default as, and then the name for this one will, we can just replace it with profile form. Okay, so you can see this profile form is actually going to be imported from section slash profile. Okay, similar to that we are also going to import update password form in this place. So let me write update password form. Okay, you see both the things are coming from section slash profile, so please make sure you are correct over here. Then we can just go back to our application, make sure you refresh it. Okay, if it's idle for some time, then what we can do, here you can see the text written. Now we are going to start by building the form. Let's take a look at form. Okay, how we want to build it. So first of all, let's take care of this image. Okay, you see what is going to happen. We are going to display a circular image like this. Okay, we are going to display the user image inside the circle, and here is our image input. If I click on it, you can see I'm I get this pop up where I can select any image. So let's get back to our code base and we'll see how to implement this thing. Here inside our section slash profile form, I'm going to first of all remove this text. Okay, and after doing that, let me start by creating a flex column. So I'm going to give this class flex and then flex call. This means I have created this div into display flex, and the flex direction is set to column, so we can lay out the content vertically. Now I'm going to give it full width that is available to the parent. Then I want padding of 4, that means 16 pixel from all direction. You can confirm it's 16 pixel. Okay. Then I also want the space between the elements in the y direction. That means the childrens of this flex column, they are going to have a space of 24 pixel between them. You can confirm it over here. It's 24 pixels. Okay. Then let's talk about what are the elements that we are going to place inside it. Okay, so there will be actually two childrens of this flex column. Let me show you that over here. The first children will be this image along with the image input, and the second one will be this box containing other inputs. Okay, so actually we have two different forms on this page. The first one is for the image and the second one is for these other fields. Let's now focus on the first one, where we have to just render the user's image and take the user image input. So what we are going to do, we are going to create a div. Before that, let me also leave a comment for better understanding. So we are actually creating the image picker for now. Okay, and also we are also going to render the image inside this div. So here I'm going to style it by using some class name. First of all, I want to make it relative. Why I'm making it relative? Because you can see that this image picker, it's going to be, positioned absolutely with respect to its parent. That is why I'm setting the parent's position as relative. Please make sure that you ask your questions in the comment section, and if you want, you can also join our Discord server where I can answer all of your queries. Okay, you just have to, DM to me, or you can also ask in the general group. Now back to this topic. Here I have set it the position as a relative. Now I want to also set its z index to a higher value. Let's say z30. This will work for us. Just make sure that it appears above the other contents. Okay, that is what I want. Then width full means it's going to take all the available width uh, that its parent can offer. That means we are simply going to use the concept of inheritance. Okay, I hope you are aware about that in CSS. And after that, since I want a complete circle, so I'm going to give this class rounded full. You already know that I have told you multiple times that rounded full, this is used to make a circular structure. Okay, so that's why I'm not providing, we are not using any value in terms of relative unit. We are using a very high value in pixel. This is going to make sure that if the height and width are same, then it will appear as a circle. But if the height and width ratio is not 1 is to 1, then it will appear as an oval. Okay, so please keep this concept in mind. Then let's also provide padding of 1 in all direction, left, bottom, top, right. Then I want to set the backdrop blur. Okay, so I'm just going to add backdrop blur. And for the smallest, for every screen which is from above the SM size, we are going to apply this max width of 36. Okay, and also for this small breakpoint, I'm going to change the padding to 3 in all direction. By default it's 1, but here you can see when the minimum width is 640 pixel, that means from the small screen size and above, padding will be set to 3, that means 12 pixels. Okay, now inside this div, I want to create, this is the wrapper. Okay, this is the wrapper for two things. You can see we have this image, okay, circular image, and this input. Now these two are going to be contained inside the div that we just created, this one. Okay, so let's now focus on those two things. Here I'm just going to, let's create uh, one more layer of wrapper. Here I'm just going to give it this relative position, and also let me add some drop shadow over here. So for that we can use this drop shadow class. Now it's up to us how much drop shadow do we need. I'm going to just give it this drop shadow 2. After that, we can now go back inside this div. First of all, let me render the image. So here I'm just going to use the image tag. Okay, now we need to actually provide some source. It's actually going to come from the API, but for now, since we are only developing the front end part of the application at this point, so I'm going to just use one of the dummy images from this folder, images slash user. Okay, so let me just import it at the top over here. I'm going to write import user1 from, and then the path. I'm going to go two steps back. Then inside the images folder, we have user, and then we have user dash 01.png. I'm going to use this one. Okay, let me pass that source over here, which is user number one. I'm going to leave the alt attribute as it is for now. Also, let me do one more thing. I'm going to, provide class name over here. We can actually define the height and width of this image. So let's give it height and width of, let's say 50, H50, W50, and rounded full, rounded full, so that it appears as a circle. Okay, and also object position set to center, and object fit property set to cover. This is going to enough for this image. Next up, let me just go back and see how it's looking. So this is our application. Actually, you can see that we should not provide the height and width over here. So I'm just going to remove it, because it's going to take the height and width from its parent. So let me just visit it again. Yeah, so right now it's looking perfectly circular, and the distortion was happening because the parent is forcing another height and width, and I was giving different. Okay, here you can see we have max width of 36, but I was providing 50. So that is why if I just write over here h36 w36, then that will be fine. Okay, so you can see it's still it's not, perfectly circular. So either we can remove this width from here, okay, or we can remove this thing. So I'm just going to, remove it from the image tag. And after that, let's actually focus on building the input. That means picking up images. So I want to create this kind of, button where we can, click and open up this file picker. So in order to do that, we are going to make use of the label. Okay, so let's use the label, and over here I'm going to provide this HTML for property to profile. Okay, then let's add some class name. First of all, I want it to be absolutely positioned with respect to the relative parent, so I'm going to give it this class absolute. Then I want it to stick at the bottom right corner, so bottom 0, and right position will also be set to 0. I'm going to make it flex, and since we are going to place an icon inside it, so I want to use the flex, flex property to center the children both horizontally as well as vertically. I'm going to write item center and justify center. Okay, so this is going to make sure that the icon which will be placed inside, that will appear perfectly at the center, both horizontally as well as vertically. Now in order to make this look like a circle, okay, the blue circle, I'm going to give this rounded full class over here. After that, we can also set the background color to primary. Okay, since it's a blue button, we have already seen that. And you also saw that when we are hovering over this button, its opacity is actually changing. Let me just copy this and open it up over here again. You can see when we hover over it, the opacity is slightly changing. So we are going to also do that. Just now we have implemented background color primary. Let's also give it the text color, so that this same color white will this will be inherited by the icon inside this label. So let me first format the document, and over here let me also make it word wrap so that you can see everything inside the screen size. Okay, everything is visible now. When we hover over this button, I want the background opacity to reduce to 90%. So let me set on hover, BG opacity will be 90 of the original. Then for the small screen size, I want bottom position to be 2. That means 2 times 4, 8 pixels. You can confirm that over here. And similarly, for the small screen size and above, I want right position to be also set to 2. That means again 8 pixel from the right side. You can again see that. Then the next step is to add an icon inside it. Okay, so how we are going to do that? We can just get the camera icon from the phosphor icon library. So let me just go to the phosphor icon website. Then we can just search for camera. Okay, that is the icon that we need. Okay, so this is by the name of camera, and we can use it like this inside our React project. So let me just go back, and inside this label I'm going to add camera from phosphor icon slash react. It's imported at the top, you can see. Then let me actually set its size to 20. Okay, and if we just go back to our application, then you can see right now it's looking like this. I think I missed padding over here. If we provide padding, then we'll have some more space and it will look better. So let me just provide padding to this label. Okay, that's very important. So I'm just going to go back, and here I'm just going to write p2. Let's see what happens now. Okay, so now it's looking better. Okay, but the thing is, when I click on it, nothing is happening. So how we are going to fix this thing? We are going to now introduce input. Okay, and we are going to make the input such that I'm going to tell you about a class. Okay, so that we can have the effect of input, but still input will not be visible. So we need to write input over here. Okay, this is the HTML input. And now the type will be file. We want to pick file for the image. Name will be profile, and please make sure that this name exactly matches the HTML for property. Okay, so I'm just going to copy and paste that over here. After that, I'm also going to set its ID to the same thing, profile. Then here is the class name that I'm talking about, SR only. This is it's going to provide all of these on this particular input. Okay, so this input will not be visible, but it will still have its effect, like picking up the file when we click on it. So now if I just go back and if I click on it, you can see the file the file picker is now opening up. So that is how we created our image input. Okay, next thing is we want to create this form where we have this card, and inside that we are going to have these four inputs. These three are just simple text input, and the fourth one is our select input. Okay, then we also have this button. Let's see how we can do that. So image picker is done, so I can just collapse that. Let me just check if there are any questions in the chat box. Okay, so someone is asking what framework is it. We are actually using React with Tailwind CSS. Okay, that is what we are using on our front end. When we start integrating the API, we'll also be using Redux to manage the state of our application. And for the backend part, we are using Node.js, MongoDB, and Socket.io. Okay, and there is a built-in API, WebRTC, inside our browser. We are also going to use that. So that's the whole tech stack of our application. And as for the deployment, we are going to deploy it on Vercel and Render. Okay, front end will be deployed on Vercel, and our backend will be on Render. I'm also going to teach you how to, do the domain setup and get the SL certificate and all those things. So let's now continue with this. And after image picker, I'm going to now create the next part, which is our rest of the fields. So rest of the profile form. Now, in order to do that, first of all, we need to create that card like structure. Okay. And for that, first of all, we need to get a div. So let me create a div really quickly. And after that, we are going to just get the class name over here for styling purpose. I want to give some roundedness along the corners. That means border radius. So I'm going to set rounded SM. Then let me also add a border. Okay, this is going to set a border with border width of 1 pixel. And then I'm going to define the border color to stroke color. Okay. Then let's also provide the background color to white. Okay. I'm also going to use the default shadow default. Okay, this is going to make it look like this. You can see over here it has got shadow from all the sides. You can see it's looking slightly elevated, right? So that is the effect that we are talking about. Now after that, after giving the default shadow, I want to customize the properties for the dark mode. So we can just use dark and write colon. After this, I want border stroke dark color for the sorry, let me write it like this: border stroke dark. So when it's dark mode, I want the border color to be stroke dark color. Similarly, in the dark mode, I want a different background color. So I'm going to write in the dark mode, use BG box dark. Okay, and on all the screen sizes MD and above, that means medium and above screen sizes, I want the max width to be restricted. Why I am doing this? Because you can see before we did this, the line was stretching all the way throughout over till here. Okay, now it's restricted to 150 pixels because it satisfies that condition. It's a large screen, so it's above the medium size screen. Okay, now we need to take care of the content inside this box that we just created. Okay, so I'm going to now make use of form element from the HTML. So let me just use form, and right now I'm just going to leave the action empty. And inside this form, we are going to now make use of a flex column. Why we are using flex column? Because you can see that over here we are going to place all these elements above one another, that means in a vertical fashion. So we are going to need a column for that. Okay, so here I'm just going to define a div. Let's give it some class name. First of all, let's make it display flex by giving it this class name. Then I wanted to have flex direction column, so we can give it this class flex call. Let's also provide some gap between all the children. That means the spacing between children 5.5. 5.5 means just multiplied by 4. It will be 22 pixels. So you can just check that. Yeah, it's 22 pixel. And padding, this is going to be, let's give padding of 6.5 from all direction. That means top, bottom, left, right. You can already see the box taking shape over here, right? Now, after this, it's going to be pretty much simple. Okay. So first of all, I need an input for the name. So I'm going to write a comment for that name. Then I want to create an input for asking the user what's their job title. Okay. Then as a third, we are going to ask them about their bio, just a single line description of themselves. And the last input will be for selecting the country. Okay, actually you can skip creating this field, but why I am doing this, because I just want to tell you how to handle form, how to create different kinds of input. Okay, so that is why I have decided to include these things inside the project. And lastly, we are going to have our submit button inside the form. Okay, so let's start with the name input. We need a label as well as the input. Here you can confirm that thing. If I just show you this one, you can see this is the label and this is the input. So we are going to need two things in vertical direction. So that means again we are going to need a column. Okay, so but this time I'm not going to define it like flex and flex call. We can just leave it like that, and we'll use margin bottom to basically create some spacing between the items. I hope you understand that. And after that, let's create the label using the label element. The label will be name, and here I'm just going to add some class names. First of all, as I told you, I'm going to add some margin bottom so that the label and input have some spacing between them. Then I'm going to set it to block so that it takes its whole line. Okay, then the text color, I'm going to set it to black color. Okay, but for the dark mode, I'm going to change the text color from black to white. So let me write text white. Okay, so this is all the styling that we need for label. After that, I need the input element. So let me use input from HTML. The type will be set to text. Let's also set the placeholder property. So I'm going to set placeholder as enter your name. Okay. Then let's also add some class names. First of all, I wanted to take the full available width. That means you can see its parent is restricted to take max width of 150. That means 600 pixels. So after we reduce the padding, okay, because it has also got this padding of 26 pixel from all sides, so you have to do double of it because padding will be from both left and right side. So you have to subtract 26 times 2 from 600, and that will be the width of this input. I hope you get this concept. Now we also want this input to have border radius along the corners. That means at the top left and bottom right corners. So here I'm going to provide it this property rounded algae, which means it's going to have 8 pixels of border radius on all the four corners. Then here I want to also provide some border. If I leave just like this, like border, it's going to have border width of 1. But this time I want to customize the border width. So I'm going to use this square bracket notation. This is how we write custom value in Tailwind CSS. Then I can just write 1.5 pixel or any value in pixel, okay, or any other unit, and that will be implemented. So border 1.5 pixels. This is why I like Tailwind CSS, because it offers lots of flexibility and customization at the same time. Okay, and it's also very easy to implement and build any kind of application. Now back to our topic. I'm going to customize the border color. So I'm going to give it this color border stroke. Okay, and after this, let's also set the background color to transparent. So BG transparent. Padding in the y direction, I want to give it 3. That means 3 times 4, 12 pixel. You can guess that value already since I've told you this same calculation again and again. PX will be set to 5, okay, 20 pixel. Then I want the text color. That means the text that we are going to write inside input, that will be in black color. I want to disable the outline. So for that, we can use this class outline none. Okay, outline set to none. Then I want the transition effect. Okay, so I'm just going to write transition. Okay, let me get my cursor back over here. So this is transition. Actually, this yeah, let me write it again. Transition. Okay, now it's correct. Then in the focus state, when this input is in focus state, I want the border color to be primary. So let me write border primary when it's in the focus state. When it's in the active state, I want the border color to be again primary. So I can write it again, border primary. Then when it's in the disabled state, when the input is disabled, okay, then I want the cursor to be set to default. Okay, cursor will be set to default. And let's now customize the other few things. When the input is disabled, then I want the background color to be this whiter color. It's a color coming from a our configuration, tailwind css configuration. Then just a few more things we need to customize for the dark mode as well. So let me write, for the dark mode I want border form stroke dark. Now you might be thinking, how do I know I have to use this color? Okay, actually the spelling is not correct, so let me just go to this tailwind config.js, and yeah, this is the color that we are talking about, form stroke dark. Okay, I'm just going to copy this string in order to implement this color over here. Then I can just go back to profile form and write over here, after this border dash I can write form stroke dark, and now that color appears over here. So you see everything is configured inside tailwind css configuration, and we are just using that over here. Then for the dark mode I also want to configure the background color, so it will be form input. Okay, for the dark mode let's also change the text color to white, so let me write text white. And for the dark mode, when it is in the focus state, I want border color to be still primary, so let me write border primary. So you see how many classes we have written, but also on the other hand, if you look at the better side, positive side, it's also offers us a lot of flexibility if you are comfortable with tailwind css. I'm not saying you have to memorize all of these classes, but when you practice it a lot, you will remember most of these. So it will be very easier for you if you just practice developing applications. Don't worry about remembering all these things, just follow me what I'm teaching or the other instructors and keep building the applications. You will get better at it. Okay, now we can just go back to our application and see, this is the input that we created. If I just turn it into dark mode, then you can see it's responding very properly. And the text color is white right now. If I just turn it into light mode, then you'll see text color is black. So everything is responding perfectly. So that means our first input is now created, and this also means that these two are also done. We just have to change the name and placeholder, that's it. So let's quickly do that. Here I'm just going to take this div which is for name and repeat it for the job title and bio. Now you might be thinking why I am repeating the code. I can also reuse it. Yes, we can reuse it. And when we start our API integration, we are going to uh, create it into a separate component, and we'll make it customizable by passing this label, name and placeholder, and type all these properties as props. Okay, so we'll do that, but for now I'm just going to repeat it like this. So let's just update this name to bio. Also over here I'm going to change the placeholder to enter your bio. Similarly for the job title we can also do the same thing. Okay, so job title and enter your job title. Let me just quickly change this thing. Okay, so this is also done. Now we can just go back and see. Now we have got the three inputs. Okay, and after that there is one more input left, which is our select input. Here you can see this input is actually going to be a little bit different. Here we need to use this list, and also we are going to see how to create these different options and render a list. So before that, let me just create this submit button. Then we are going to complete the update password form because it only requires the text input that we have already created. and the button that we are going to create. So the flow will be like this. Now we are going to create the button. After button, we'll shift to creating update form, update password form. After this is done, at the last, we are going to create our select input. Okay. So let's now follow this approach. Let me again check if there are any more comments. Okay, so I think the stream quality is compromised, but still I'm recording this video, so it's no problem. I'll just post it again after editing. Let me just continue from here. So we can now start creating our button. Okay, let me go back to our code base, and this is the submit button where we have to create it. So let me just take button element, and inside this I'm going to write submit. Then we can style it using some class names. Also, let me set the type to submit. Okay, this is a submit button, so the type will be submit. Class name, it's going to be w full, which means width full. Cursor pointer, I want roundedness on this button, so let's give rounded lg. Then we are also going to provide it border, and the border color will be border primary. I also want it to have, background color set to primary. So BG primary. Then also I want to give it padding in X and Y direction. So let's give padding in Y3 and padding in X6. Okay. I want the text color inside the button to be white. So let's write text white. I want the transition effect. So we can write just transition and you can hover over it and see what it means. Okay. It's going to apply these properties on that button. Then when we hover over the button, I want to again change the background opacity to 90%. So I can just simply write bg opacity and let's select the 90 value. Okay. We can again go back to our application and see this is the button that we just created. And now we can do the same thing for the update password form. Okay. So I'm just going to uh, I'm just going over here inside this form, update password form, and it's actually going to be pretty much similar to what we have already done. Okay, so inside the profile form, you can see this is the rest of the profile form that we are building. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy everything from here. Okay, and I'll paste it inside, not everything. Let me just get the JSX part only. Let me get the JSX and I'll paste it over here in place of this JSX. Then we can just remove the unnecessary part, which is we don't need an image picker, so let's remove it. And over here we only need two inputs. The first one will be for the current password. Okay, current password. So let's just change this name to current password. Let me actually see what is the label that we want over here. Current password and not here. I need to check over here, current password and new password. Okay, so here I'm just going to say enter your password, and then the next it will be new password. Let me also change it over here inside the comment. It will be new password. Then inside the placeholder I can just write choose new password. Okay, then we can remove this bio and country comment. We can leave the submit button, and let's see how it's looking. So this is the update password form. Actually, this is the update password form, and this is exactly what we wanted. Let's also make the two fields required. Actually, this will automatically become required, and also will add some additional validation rules when we integrate it with the React hook form. But for now, I can just do it like this, required, and also do that same thing over here, required, on this input. And here you can see when we try to submit the button, it's going to ask us to basically provide all the required fields. So that means it's working. Now we are onto the last part of this form, and also we are about to complete the front end part. Okay, then we can start with the API integration and building backend. So that the last part is building this input, where we can select multiple option, options from this list. Okay, so what we are going to do now, we need to create a separate component. So let's go to the components folder. Here, let me create a new folder. I'm going to call it form. Now inside this form, I want to create the select input. Okay, so let me just write inside this, create a new file called select input.jsx. Okay, now this is actually going to be pretty much simple. We can just first of all start small and break it down into simple parts. First of all, we have got our React functional component. Okay, let me again check if there are any questions. Uh, Let me also check it over here if the live stream is going smooth or not. Okay, so here I think there is some lag, but it's okay, because the video is also getting recorded, so it doesn't matter. Okay, here we can just get back to building our application now. Let's remove this select input text from the div. Okay, and after this we are going to again place label, because we need label in order to show that, select country text. So let me write that over here, select country. Then the next thing is we are going to again use some class names. We can just get these class names from the label we used inside profile form. So I'm inside the profile form, and I am just going to grab margin bottom 3 block text black and this class. Let's go to the select input and place it over here inside the class name. Okay, so now we have margin bottom 3 and display set to block, color property set to black, and for the dark mode color property is white. I hope this much is clear. As a next step, we want to create a div. Okay, and this div is going to be relative. Again, why it's relative? Because we want to, place some element absolutely with respect to this relative parent. Let me tell you why I am saying this. Because if you just go back and take a look at this input, then you can see here we want to place this country icon at the start, and also we want to place this caret icon at the end. Okay, so in order to place these things, we are going to use absolute positioning. Okay, that is why I'm declaring the parent as relative. Let's also make sure that its z index is higher, so that the list appears at the top of the other, content like the card. So that is why I'm providing this z index relatively higher value of, 20. Then background color will be set to white. For the dark mode, I want the background color to change to bg form input. Okay, I hope this is clear. Then after this, we are going to use a span tag. Okay, now inside this span tag, I'm going to place the icon. Okay, we need two icons, as I have already told you. We want to place them, absolutely. So let me add class name over here. First of all, it's going to be positioned absolute, so that we can display that globe icon at the start. Okay, since we are asking the user to select their country, then position from the top will be 1 by 2. Now this 1 by 2 is pretty new, because I haven't discussed this till this point inside this course. So 1 by 2 means 50%. Okay, so the position from top is 50%. Okay, this is what it means. And from the left side, let's also define some position. We are going to set it to 4. 4 times 4 is 16 pixels, so it is going to be 16 pixel from the left side. Okay, then in order to basically put it exactly at the center, since we this top 1 by 2 means 50%, it's a relative unit, so we need to adjust the height of the icon as well. In order to do that, we are going to do the translation along the y direction of minus 50%. And this is how we do that in Tailwind CSS by writing translate y 1 by 2, but with a negative sign at the start. This means if you just hover over it, it will tell you what it means. Translate in the y direction by minus 50%. This is how we are basically putting it vertically at the center and horizontally 16 pixel from the left side. I hope this is clear. And after that, we can place our icon inside this span. So we can just go back to phosphor icon library, and let me just search for the globe icon. So this is the icon that we want to use, globe. Okay, I'm just going to take it, and let me implement globe from phosphor icon slash react inside my application. I'm also going to set its size to, let's say, 20. Similar thing is going to happen towards the end. We need to use this span again, but this time the position is going to be different. So again, it will be positioned absolutely. Top will be 1 by 2, and this position is also going to be same, because vertically it's still going to be at the center. Okay, but its position is going to be defined not from the left side but from the right side, because we want it on the right hand side. So it will be right 4, and let's also set its z index higher, so that uh, it appears at the top. Okay, so I'm going to set its z index to 10, but the list has even greater z index, so it will appear below the list. Okay, then the next thing is we just want to use the select input, which is provided by the HTML. So let me write select. Okay, then we are not going to provide any name or ID to this select. I can just remove it for now. In order to make it controlled, we are going to provide it value and on change. This is this controlled and uncontrolled inputs. This is a concept of React. What is meant by controlled input? Let me tell you that if you just use an input, okay, and if you don't know what is the value of input at any given time programmatically, that means inside your code you cannot print the value in console or send it to server, then it's an uncontrolled input. But if you have some way to know what is the current value, then it's a controlled input. Okay, so we are going to now make it controlled using with the help of use state hook. So let me just define a state over here. The state that I want is selected option. Selected option, since we are going to select one of the options that is presented to us via list. And then I can also write set selected option. This is going to be the function, and it will be used to update the value in this first place. Okay, then we can make use of this use state hook. The initial value, I can just set the initial selected value to null, which means empty string as well. Then here I'm also going to define one more state, and that is option selected. That means if any option is selected, then this is going to be true, but by default it's going to be false. So set is option selected. This is going to be equal to use state, and the initial value will be false. Then what we are going to do, we are going to create a function which is going to change the text color when a certain option is when any option is selected. So set is option selected, we are going to set it to true. Okay, so this is our handler function, which is going to basically update the value of his option selected to true. Let's see how we're going to use all of this inside this select. So first of all, we need to map the value. Value will be the selected option, and when something changes inside this input, we are going to get an event. Whenever we get an event, we are going to call set selected option, not this, but set selected option. And then inside this, we are going to pass the value e.target.value. Okay, then after this, we are also going to invoke this function change text color whenever the user selects an option. Okay, now we need to style this select by giving it some class name. And also there is one more thing that I want to tell you. We need to provide some options inside this select, which will display inside the list. So let's take care of the option first. We can just use this option element from the HTML. Value, I'm just going to leave the value as empty for the first one. Okay, it's just going to say select country. Okay, it's also going to be disabled so that user cannot select this first one. Let me also give it some class name like text body. Text color will be the body color. This body color is defined inside our Tailwind CSS configuration. Okay, then for the dark mode, I want the text color to be text body dark. Okay, so this is our first option. Now we can similarly define the other options. So if you have a list, okay, let's say an array, then you can just map over it, but I don't have a array, so I'm just going to add few options manually. So let's first add India Okay, and I'm not going to keep it disabled, so let's remove this disabled from here. And other class names are going to remain exactly the same. Let me make it, let's say UK. Okay, then let's make it Russia. Okay, here I'm also going to change the label inside the option, so let me remove it, and it will also be updated. It will be India in the first place, then UK, Russia. Okay, if you have a standard list of all the countries, you can just map over it and render a big list. Okay, now if I just go back to our application, and see over here, it's not visible. Actually, we have not used this component. So this select import is created, but we have not imported it inside profile form. So this is the place that where we want to use this. So I'm just going to write select input, and you see it's going to be coming from component slash form slash select input. Let me click over it, and it will be imported, and then we can see on our development server. So now this is what we are seeing. If I click on it, I'm seeing this list. So this means it needs some styling in order to, look good. Also, there is one more thing. The icon is actually same in the left as well as on the right side. But in the final application, you can see I want this uh, carrot down icon at the right side. So we need to go to our phosphor icon again. And on this side, I'm going to search for the icon called carrot down. This is the one that I need. You see, this is how we can use inside our React application. So we can just go back to select input, and inside this where we have this span. Okay, we are positioning it from the right side. Instead of globe, it will be carrot down. Okay, coming from phosphor icon slash react. Now let's actually add class names on this select so that it appears like we want it to appear. Okay, first of all, let me tell you that it's going to have some JavaScript inside it, so we are going to do string interpolation. That's why I'm using this backtick instead of single or double quote. Okay, let's first of all make it relative. Then I'm going to set its z index to 20. Let's give it full width. Okay, appearance, I want to set its appearance to none. I want it to have, slightly border radius from all the four corners, so that is why I'm giving it this rounded. And I also want it to have border. Let's also set the border color to stroke color. Okay, bg color will be transparent, that means background will be transparent. Padding in x direction, I want it to be 12, and padding in y direction will be 3. I don't want any outline around this input, so I'm just going to set outline to none. Okay, and after that, let's also set the transition property. So transition, actually it's going to contain all these classes from here, so we can just copy transition. After transition, we have focus, active state, disabled. Okay, let's actually copy till this active, and after that we'll see if we need more classes. So here I'm just going to take that and paste it over here. Let me actually word wrap it so that you can see everything in screen size. So after py3, it has outline none, transition. When it's in the focus state, it's going to have border primary. In the active state, it's going to have border primary. Let's now also target the dark mode. So when the dark mode is switched on, the border color is going to change to form stroke dark. Okay, then for the dark mode, background color is also going to change. It will be form input, bg form input. Okay, then we need to add some JavaScript over here. That means based on the condition, whether some option is selected or not. Okay, whether some option is selected or not, we are going to basically apply different styling. So let me write over here, when some option is selected, what we are going to do, we are going to set the text color to black. Okay, and also when it's in the dark mode, I'm going to change the text color to white. And when none of the option is selected, we are just going to, not implement any additional styling. So let's leave it empty string like this. After this, we can just go back to our application and see what is happening. Okay, so our input now looks like this. This is exactly what we wanted. You can, refresh this application and see for yourself that right now the text color, everything that we have implemented as per the rule, it's working. So this means now we have completed our applications UI part. Okay, and right now we are in a position to start building the backend. We already have all of the authentication screens ready, so we can just right away we can start integrating it to our backend. And there is just one last thing that I want to fix over here. You can see this button, it's not taking the full width, or at least it's not in the center, okay, horizontally. So let's just go back to the sidebar component. It's inside the layout. First of all, let me close all the open editors. Also, I'm going to collapse all the files and folders. Then we can go inside layout. This is the sidebar that we are searching for. Then this is the button sign out. Okay, it's not at the middle. And why is that happening? Because the parent, it's not actually forcing it to come to the center. So how we can achieve that thing? Either we can give it full width, that will be the better option. So I will give it just w full, and let's see what happens. Now you can see it's stretching its width as much as it can. So this thing is also fixed now, and you can see at this point we have many types of messages inside our application. And this application is also pretty much it's already responsive, but only this sidebar part needs to be taken care of. We'll do that at the end, before deployment. So right now I want to focus on making this functional. Okay, we are going to implement the complete authentication system. Everything, every message will be encrypted. Okay, I'm going to show you many things on the backend side. Then we'll also see how to implement audio and video call, not using any third party APIs, but we are going to build it from scratch using socket.io and web sockets. Okay, which means WebRTC. Then you can see it has also got all the different kinds of messages that you can think about, like document, simple text, or link message. Then our audio message, media message, we have gifs option. You can just search for any gifs, like something like this, and all the gifs will appear. Okay, you can select any gif and send it to your uh, you know friend or colleague, whichever you are talking to. So that is the point of this application. You can see we have worked a lot on this one. Okay, and at this point we are ready to start doing the API integration. So again, I want to congratulate you for coming so far. Okay, and let's now meet in the next video where we are going to start our API integration. And before actually closing this stream, I would like you to ask to please subscribe to the channel. Okay, and also make sure you are joined in our Discord server for regular updates. So that's it. I'll see you in the next one.